All right. I want you to appreciate this story. And the reason I want you to appreciate it is because here's the question that we're going to be left with tonight in a little bit. And that is this. Okay? And that, is it possible that Jesus could live your story through you better than you could? Is it possible that he could live your story through you better than you could? Now, here's the thing. Jesus really has only started to get to know Peter, James, John, Andrew, the four guys here who were the fishermen. He's only started to get to know them. And it says that he came down, might have even been chatting with them to start with, but then all of a sudden people started gathering around him, and he's standing on the edge of the shore, and he begins to teach them. Begins to teach them about who God is. And it says that more and more people started joining to the fact that they started pushing him towards the edge of where the water was. Now, this is not a shore like what you have here down by the beach, where it's sort of a gentle thing, just goes out like that. I've been there, and I've been to that place, and what it was is that basically it's an edge, a drop-off with a lot of rocks, and then the water starts. And so Jesus is getting pushed back to the edge where there's a lot of rocks right behind him. And all of a sudden it says he looks over his shoulder, sees the two boats, one owned by Peter and his brother Andrew, the other one owned by James and John. And he looks at them and he says, hey, guys, can I use one of your boats? Peter, can I get in your boat? And that way I'll be a lot safer. And Peter goes, yeah, sure. Jesus gets into the boat. Peter pushes it away from the shore a little bit. And now Jesus got everybody standing on the shore listening to him as he teaches. And meanwhile, the disciples are doing something. The four guys, they're doing something that's important that they do every time they finish fishing. And that is that they have to clean the nets. How many of you have seen a fishing net? Yeah? Good. Okay, so you know what they look like. Now, imagine that you made that net yourself back, actually probably your great-grandfathers and stuff may have done that, making the nets themselves. And when they make the nets themselves, and that once you use them, they get covered in little pieces of the seaweed and stuff from the water, and you'd have to clean them line by line, square by square. You'd have to clean the whole net. So these guys are sitting in the shallow water, literally cleaning the net and listening to Jesus as he's teaching from the boat. And then it says Jesus finishes teaching, and then he looks at his guys and he says this to them. He looks at them and he says, hey, Peter, let's go fishing. Now all of a sudden Peter's got a problem. See, Peter's looking at Jesus and saying this, you know, Jesus, you're really good at the God stuff. When it comes to talking about God, Jesus, never heard anybody better. I've never heard anybody better than you when it comes to teaching and talking about God. But you want to know something, Jesus? You know nothing about my job. You don't know how to do it. You've never had to do it. And the honest truth is, you've never been a fisherman. You don't know the first thing about fishing. And this is how he says it. How does he say it? He says, Master, what does it say?
Master, we worked hard all night and we haven't caught anything.
Aha, stop right there. We fished how long?
All night.
All night. And we caught? Nothing. We caught nothing. Now, what he's trying to tell Jesus is this. Jesus, you really know how to teach about God, but you know nothing about fishing. So let me just break it to you gently. Because Jesus, you got to understand my story. And I don't think you do. You see, Jesus, there's a good time to go fishing. And that good time to go fishing is during the night. That's when you get the fish to come into the nets. Well, Jesus, guess what? We fished all night. And we caught? Nothing. We caught nothing. What is Peter trying to tell Jesus? What's he trying to tell him right now? Huh?
He doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything about fishing. He doesn't know anything about the lake. He doesn't know anything at all about any of this. Jesus, please stick to what you know. But the truth is, Jesus, you don't know my story. You don't know how to live my story. You don't know how to do the things that I do. I do. I do know how to do these things. And Jesus, I did it when the time was right to do it. And the truth is, we caught nothing. But you know what's happening right now? Peter's in what we call a stare down with Jesus. He's in a stare down with him. They're locked eyes. He's looking at Jesus. and the two of them are just staring at each other, and Peter's trying to tell him, this is a really bad time to go fishing. Nobody goes fishing when the sun's up high and it's hot outside and the water's getting hotter and the fish just disappear. Nobody goes. But because you say so, okay, let's go. Let's go. We're going to go fishing. Now, have you ever had to do this? Have you ever been really upset inside, really, really angry about something, and you're saying to yourself that, you know something, and that, I am just upset about having to do this. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be here. I don't want to have to be part of this. I don't want to be doing it. I think that's how Peter's feeling inside himself right now. What's he spent all morning doing? Cleaning what?
The fish nets.
The fish nets. What's he going to have to do now?
Fish.
And then clean the nets again. And Peter's looking, I'm pretty sure inside himself he's ticked. But you want to know what he does? He does what I would call the religious thing. And the religious thing is this, and that is that you go, Jesus ain't looking at you because you got your back turned to him, and then your back turned to him, and you're just going, oh man, fish, put it in the water again, clean it. Hi, Jesus. It's okay, Jesus. Yeah, we're going fishing because you want to go fishing. So we're going, man, I'm going fishing. Can't believe we're going to. Ever done that? Felt one way inside, but you act a whole other way outside? Ever done that? How many of you ever done that? Yeah. Hey, Peter's doing it right now. Peter gets out there and Jesus says, hey, just don't do this. He says, I want you to head out into the deep water. And Peter's probably thinking to himself, man, it's the worst place to fish is the deep water. There's no place, okay, Jesus, yeah, we're going to go fish in the deep water. Peter gets out there, grabs his net, and then he throws it out into the lake. And it says the net sinks, and then all of a sudden Peter starts pulling it in, and what does Peter feel? It weighs something. There's something happening in this net. The net's starting to shake in the whole bit. And Peter's staring at the water thinking to himself, what in the world is going on? Is he expecting to catch anything? Is he expecting to catch anything? No, he's not. And all of a sudden this net is just vibrating and shaking like crazy and the whole bit. And as he pulls it towards his boat, him and his brother, all of a sudden they realize the net's starting to break. And they're thinking to themselves, how many fish are in here? And all of a sudden they realize it's full. This net is full beyond anything they've ever seen in their life. And so they yell to the shore, down to James and John, and they yell to them, hey, get your boat out here. We need you. Get your boat out here. Now, if you're James and John, and you're watching them go out, and you know that they're going to have to clean their nets and stuff again, how are you feeling about this whole thing? How are you feeling about this? Yeah, hey, we don't have to clean our nets again. Haha, you guys do. That's right, you're going fishing with Jesus at the worst time. Why are they calling us? Why are they calling us right now? Why are those guys calling us? Why do they want us to bring our boat? What is going on? What's happening in the water around their boat? Look at the water. What have they got? Let's get out there. Let's see what's happening. And they bring their boat out there. It says they took the fish that were within the net and did what with it? How many fish did they catch? What does it say? How many fish did they catch? Enough to do what? Yeah, enough to fill 2 boats, and they started to sink because there were so many fish in there. Now, I want you to realize 2 things here, okay? The first is this, because you can never read these stories without having a proper imagination. And here's the thing I want you to be able to appreciate. Where's Jesus? Is he in the boat? Yeah, he's in the boat. And now the boat is so full of fish, it begins to sink. How many fish is that? A lot of fish. So if you are in the boat, how high do you think the fish are coming up on you? Yeah, probably up to about here as you're sitting in that boat. Now, can you imagine Jesus sitting in a boat and all of a sudden he's just covered in fish? Can you imagine him sitting there in the boat and he's just covered in fish? And you want to know something? He's got a huge smile on his face. Got a huge smile on his face. Why? Because he just wanted to be able to show you he could live your story better than you can. And I love Peter's response. Peter, it says, fell at Jesus' knees. He fell at his knees and he says what? Go away from me, Lord.
I am a sinful man.
I am a sinful man. Here's the thing. I think the first thing going through Peter's head, to be quite honest, because fishing was his living, this is what he did for his job, I think the first thing he's thinking is, oh, this is incredible. We don't have to get up early anymore. We just partner with Jesus in fishing. We go out there when we want to. We fill up 2 boats. We don't have to fish for the rest of the week. Man, this is incredible. We can make a lot of money. And all of a sudden, he's looking at Jesus, and he's realizing something. You know something? I've never seen this happen before in my whole life. I've never even heard other fishermen tell stories that would come close to this one. But Jesus, you've just done something that nobody has ever done before. And all of a sudden, Peter's looking at Jesus, and he realizes something. He's looking at him, and he realizes, you know something? I have somebody in my boat right now that I just heard talking about God on the shoreline. And I heard him saying things about God that I've never heard anybody say before. That you can know this God, that this God loves you, he cares about you, and he wants to be involved in your life, and he wants to be able to make your stories different. He wants to bring healing to the brokenness. I'm watching this guy speak and do stuff like that, and now all of a sudden he's in my boat, and he's doing my life better than I can. He is living my life better than I can. And all of a sudden, Peter's looking at him and realizing this. And when Peter says, go away from me, for I am a sinful man, what he's saying literally is this. What he's trying to say to Jesus is this. Jesus, would you do me a favor, please? Would you leave now? Because I'm going to disappoint you. Because I'm going to disappoint you. I can promise you right now, Jesus, I'm going to fail you. I'm going to fail you. And if there's anybody on this planet right now I don't want to fail, it's you. And so, Jesus, would you please do me a favor and leave before I can disappoint you? And how does Jesus respond? What does he say? The first words that Jesus says to him is, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. What Jesus is saying to you and to me is this. Okay? Very, very important. What he's saying to you and to me is this. And that is that, hey, I want you to be able to understand something. I know you're going to fail. I know you're going to mess up. But I'm going to tell you right now, what I don't want you to do is stay in your failure. I will never let you stay in your failure. You are not a victim. You understand what I mean by that? You are not a victim. Victims stay in their failure. A victim stays in their failure. And they only see themselves as being a victim. And they only see themselves as being a failure. And Jesus is saying to us, hey, don't be afraid. You are not a victim. And the second thing, the most powerful thing is, I will not leave you in your failure. I'm going to turn your story into something you never thought it could be. You never thought it could be. I like what it says. It says Peter went ahead with the other guys, and they left their boats, and they followed Jesus. And they followed Jesus. They still had a lot to learn about what it meant to follow Jesus, but they followed him. They trusted him, that he would stay committed to them, and that they would not have to be afraid. Here's the question we want to leave with you tonight. Okay? Here's the question we want to leave with you tonight. Can Jesus live your story through you better than you can? Better than you can. Can he do it? And if so, what would you like that story to look like? What would you want it to look like? What would you want that story to look like? If Jesus looked at you and said, you're not a victim. I'm not leaving you in your failure. Oh, by the way, I'm going to take all of your brokenness and I'm going to turn it into something that's going to be beautiful. What would that story look like? That's where we want you to take a little bit of time right now. And that, about 4 or 5 minutes again. Take your journals. Spend some time being able to do that. And stay inside the room here, please, okay? And about 4 or 5 minutes, and that we're going to have a song. After the song, stay here because we have something special for you. All right? Everybody good with that? Yeah? Okay.